welcome to Attic Raiders Retro Reviews, where today we're going to be engaging the old grey matter as we take a look at the abstract strategy game Octogo. Octogo was released in 1986 by a small UK company called Octogo Games, which was obviously founded in order to get this game to market, but has since gone on to publish a couple of other games, including Counter-Strike, Tugs, The Green Game and Bull's Hit, a game which I really have to watch the pronunciation of. Octogo is an abstract strategy game for 2 players, ages 6 to adult. The front of the box shows the tagline, a compelling board game of strategy and skill. And while it is very abstract, I do like that they've actually bothered to paint the game board pieces rather than just take a big photograph, and I quite like this spacey theme that it's got going on here. The back of the box features a couple of photographs of the actual game itself and a child model who's featuring a very natty 80s knitted jumper. And a nice little bonus that I didn't actually realise I had until I got this game home is that this particular copy of this game has been signed by Paul Robert Harris, the inventor of Octogo and the director of Octogo Games Limited. So it's pretty nice just to have this actually signed by the man who created this. The back of the box also makes some pretty big claims, saying that Octogo is a truly amazing breakthrough in the field of skill and strategy board games, that it compares more favourably with chess than any other, and yet it's infinitely more simple to learn, and that it's exciting and compelling, and it's the board game of today that is destined to become a classic of tomorrow. Can it really live up to all of that hype? Well, let's take a closer look at it and find out. Interestingly, the actual packaging is not so much a box as a slipcase, so you can actually just slide the game out of its packaging in order to get to it. Unfortunately, this does mean that it is quite prone to ripping and bending in places where you are sliding it in and out of that packaging, so you do have to watch that. This does actually seem to have been corrected in later releases though, where instead of a slipcase it does actually come in a cardboard box. So if you're getting a copy of this game, I would look out for one of those. When you remove the slipcase, inside you've got this branded Octogo plastic case, and this is good, thick quality, sturdy plastic. It's fairly simple, but it's got everything you need. Inside this, the lid turns over to become your game board here. It just sits in top, and you've got your blue pieces and your red pieces and a rule book, and that's all there is to this game. There are 10 blue playing pieces and 10 red playing pieces, and you can see that these are made from this rather nifty transparent plastic. The fact that it's see-through doesn't actually do anything in the game, but it's rather cool. You can see all of them also have this raised triangle or arrow, and that's going to be very important to the gameplay in this game. Something of interest to note though is that my copy is the only copy with transparent plastic playing pieces that I've come across, so I'm guessing it's probably one of the very first ones produced. All the other ones I've seen have got these opaque, solid coloured playing pieces which actually make it easier to see the arrows on them. To set up the game then, all of the red playing pieces are placed on the back 2 rows of the octagonal game board with the arrows pointing towards the opposite player. And all of the blue playing pieces are set up on the opposite side of the board on these back 2 rows with their arrows pointing towards the red pieces. And with that done, we're ready to start. The object of the game then is to capture and eliminate all of your opponent's playing pieces by landing on them. The first one to do that is the winner. Moving in this game is really simple because all of the playing pieces move in exactly the same way. Players take it in alternating turns, moving one piece at a time, and they can do 1 or 2 actions with it. You can either move forward or you can rotate. If you're moving a piece, you're going to move it forward 1 space in the direction that its arrow is pointing. If you choose to rotate a piece, you can either rotate it clockwise or anti-clockwise, and you're going to move it 45 degrees or 1 rotation. But of course you've got 2 movements, so you can either move forward twice, or you can rotate twice to a 90-degree angle, or you could move forward and rotate, or you could rotate and then move forward. And it really is that simple. That is all there is to it. The only things you have to remember is that you cannot have one piece jumping over the top of another one of your pieces, and a playing piece on its turn can take two of your opponent's playing pieces in the one move if they're in a direct line of attack. If at the end of the game it gets down to a position where each player has only got one playing piece left on the board, then a new rule comes into play which says that nobody can do the same move twice in one position. So for example, I couldn't rotate once and then rotate twice in this same position here. That wouldn't be allowed. I would have to move and then rotate, or rotate and then move, or move twice. And that's it. The gameplay really is that simple. Once you've managed to get all of your opponent's pieces off the board, then you win the game. It seems really simple to play, but there is a lot of tactical thinking that has to go into this game. So let's think about some of those claims that the back of the box makes. Infinitely more simple than chess? Well, yeah, it actually is. Instead of having lots of pieces that move in different ways that you have to remember, all of the pieces move the same. And there's only two things to remember: moving forward or rotating. And that's it. It really is a very easy, simple game to learn. But it also has a lot of strategy to it. It says that this is more comparable to chess than any other. That I'm not so sure about. There's a lot of other strategy games of skill, which are very chess-like, but I have to say this game is really good. I really do like this. It's super simple to teach other people. Children can pick it up really quickly, but there's a lot of thinking involved in it in order to actually play the game. There's absolutely no point in using your two moves to charge across the board towards the opposite player, because then they're simply going to use their two moves to take your pieces, and that's a wasted effort. This game is all about planning ahead and moving your pieces into positions which are going to set up for future movements on your part. Because if I move that like that, then this time, if I move this now, it is covered by this, so that if this blue player takes that piece, then on my turn, I'm going to be able to take them. So you need to think ahead and plan your moves ahead of time. Ideally, you want to be thinking about using your moves to target your opponent's playing pieces, which are not going to have enough moves to be able to turn round and attack you directly. I know that this blue piece can only do two moves, which will get it to there. It doesn't have a third move to be able to take that piece. So I know that on my next go, I'm going to be safe to be able to take him, and then I've got a piece. There's no point trying to attack your opponent head on, so you're going to use a lot of flanking movements in this game, trying to get round the sides of them and attacking them from the side or from behind. If you can manage to get a piece all the way down the side and then onto the back row, then that can be absolutely devastating. Because from there, if your opponent's pieces are still faced directly towards you, then you can pretty much wipe out all of their pieces before they can get a chance to turn round, and you can do a lot of damage before your opponent can take you out. The main negative points for this game, those being the slit case, which can rip easily in the corner, and the transparent playing pieces, which make it slightly tricky to see which direction those arrows are pointing in, have both been corrected in subsequent releases of this game, so it's doing pretty well. For me, the only strange thing for this, from an aesthetic point of view, is that for a game that's called Octogo, there's rather a lack of octagons. The board itself is an octagon, but the playing pieces are squares set into star shapes. This could quite easily have been octagonal playing pieces set into octagonal spaces, and then it would have lived up to its name. It also would have meant that it would be quite easy when you are rotating those playing pieces that you could definitely see that you could rotate them only one place. Whereas sometimes with some players I've found that because they're square, when they want to rotate them, they want to rotate them a full 90 degrees instead of only 45 degrees, and they can forget about that sometimes and have to be corrected. So using actual octagon playing pieces would have solved that problem, and it would go with the name a lot better. But as far as gameplay goes, it doesn't really matter. Now, I'm a big fan of abstract strategy games for 2 players, and Octogo is a really good one. I would definitely recommend this. Being abstract strategy, it's not highly in demand, so you can get this for a rather good price. So if you see it around, I would definitely recommend picking it up. Well, I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen here today. If you have, please remember to like, comment and subscribe, and we'll see you next time with more vintage board games on Attic Raiders Retro Reviews.